On a quest to read every Star Wars novel ever written, for the Republic! Today I'll be talking about Hard Contact, the first book in the Republic Commando series by Karen Travis. Set just after Attack of the Clones, this book follows a newly formed squadron of clone commandos as they attempt to infiltrate a separatist base. Now before I get into my thoughts on the book, I do want to mention the format I read it in, because I listened to it as an audiobook. However, there is no official audiobook for any of the Republic Commando novels, so the one I listened to was fan-made. A guy on YouTube named Josh Adams has recorded the entirety of Hard Contact, has applied sound effects and music, and divided it into chapters for very easy listening. It's a very cool fan project. It really shows the devotion and affection that a subset of fans have for these books in particular, the Republic Commando books, and after reading this one, I can see why. In my experience, the biggest fans of this series tend to be those who are more military-focused, either those who've done service themselves, or just have a particular mind for that type of thing. I'd compare it to the X-Wing books, where I said if you like flight simulators, you probably like these. If you like Call of Duty a lot, you probably like the Republic Commando books. Now, I've never served in the military, and I've never been a big fan of Call of Duty either, but a good story is a good story, and this one is pretty good. A main focus of the book is really a deep dive into the psyche of the clones, how they feel about their place in the war, and how other people feel about the essentially child soldiers that the Republic has drafted here. You even get a great perspective from the villain of the book, a Mandalorian soldier named Gez Hoken, who comments on the fact that a proud Mandalorian like Jango Fett is being used as cannon fodder. But Hoken is actually one of my favorite elements of the book. I think he was a really strong villain because he starts off with that perspective, that these clones are an insult to Jango. And there's an equally interesting perspective from one of the clones' compatriots, a Jedi Padawan named Etain. Etain has been stationed on the planet that the clones were deployed to since before the war broke out, so she has no idea that there's a clone army at all. And when she first meets one of the clones, her first reaction is, this is a 10-year-old. In the Force, she can sense that these clones are living a very different life to anything else she's experienced, and there's a sort of complicated relationship between her and the clones as they try to make sense of what they are to each other. The clones want her to be a general, but she's just a Padawan. She was never trained for this, and she never really even received orders to do it. Further, she wants them to be soldiers, but they're children. They're inexperienced. How can she ask them to give up their lives when they haven't even lived at all? It's the kind of deep dive into clone psychology that's done a little bit in the Clone Wars and is very satisfying there, but here is really dove into and is fantastic. My one complaint, and it's something that I'd heard about the author before, Karen clearly has her own opinions about Jedi and Mandalorians and which one is better. There are often situations involving either the Padawan or the eventual Jedi Master that makes his way into the story that feel like they're being written from someone very harshly against the Jedi and very strongly in favor of Mandalorian ideology. And overall, it just feels a little bit like a soapbox. The book at times reads as anti-Jedi propaganda. It's never too bad though, although from what I've heard, I think the next ones might get worse at that. But it's also nothing that really dampens my overall feelings on the story. I think that this was a very well-told book with some strong characters, and it does a very good job of making these identical clones still feel fairly distinct. But overall, I liked Hard Contact a lot, and I'm very excited to get into the next books in the Republic Commando series. 7 out of 10.